I've had the distinct privilege of leading worship at our church for the last 4 years, which has truly been one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. To take a step back, I want to tell you a little bit about how I ended up here, how my family ended up here, and what this church means to us. So if you'll rewind with me, we're going back 5-6 years. I grew up in big churches, and when I got to college, I attended Wheaton College out in Illinois. When I got there, as a musician, as a professional musician, I wanted to play the big churches. So I served at the big churches. I played bass for Willow Creek Church, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. I was one of their bass players for a long time. And I played at Harvest Bible Chapel out in Chicago as well. And I had plugged in there as much as I could, but I started to experience something about that I didn't really like. And I was getting lost. And, again, I grew up in big churches and I knew how to fit in, but going to these big churches just continuously and the turnover that they experience, it started to create a little bit more of a challenge for me to be known. And one day when, towards the time I was graduating, I was playing one Sunday and I looked around and I didn't know a single person in the worship team, and not a single person knew who I was. I was there to play. Contrary, my then fiance was born and raised in Wales, United Kingdom, and having gone to visit her several times, I experienced her church. Very small, smaller than Thrive, but close. The same people that were in her church were the same people that held her when she was a baby. And I had never even heard of that before. So when we found out that I was going to be moving to Florida, and thus Zoe was going to be moving to Florida several months later, she tasked me with finding a small church. It's something that we both needed. Something to continue the family feel that she was used to, and something for me to actually be known and cared for by the people around me. So February 3rd is my first night. I remember the date. You'll know why in a moment. February 3rd, 2017. My dad helps me move down here to Southwest Florida, gets me moved into my apartment, and we say, okay, we have to go and find something to eat. It's like 8:30. We've been driving for hours to get me down here and then unloading a trailer. So we go to the Bahama Breeze up on 41. You may know of them from their happy hours or not. But we sit down and our waitress comes and takes our order, and we start talking to her, and she's like, oh, you just moved to town? What are you looking to do? I said, well, I'm really looking for a church. And she said, well, what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for something small, something that somewhere I can plug in, somewhere I can be cared for, somewhere that, I don't want to hide in the background anymore. I want to be part of something. And she said, well, you have to go to Thrive. Now, I have no idea how this person heard of Thrive. She was in Cape Coral. She said she knew people that had gone here before. But I have never seen her since. I've been back to that restaurant many times. I have never seen her since. Nobody I've ever talked to knew who she was. But she brought us here. So that Sunday, I walked in on February 4th. I walked into Thrive for the first time. And I met probably about 5 or 6 people. And then the next Sunday, I decided to go somewhere else. Went to one of the other larger churches around here just to make sure I had a good feel and to make sure that wasn't what I was looking for. And it really wasn't. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go back to Thrive and just feel it out one more time. And I walked in, and every single person, bar none, knew who I was, my name, why I had moved down here, when I had moved down here, and that I was a musician. It was almost creepy. Almost. But it was welcoming. And it's something that made me think, maybe this is something I can get into. And, John had approached me early and said, hey, we really need someone who can come and help lead worship and help drive us in a different direction. He had told me, he said, we're at the point where in one Sunday from now, we're going to be watching YouTube videos. We're not going to have live worship anymore. And I said, well, yeah, I'm not ready to fully commit to a church that I don't know very well in that capacity, but, I'll help you until I figure out what I'm going to do. And I called my, again, then fiance and said, I'm going to be leading worship on Sunday. And she said, what? She was horrified. She said, well, how are you going to plug into this church? You don't know these people. I said, it's different. I can't explain it. It makes sense. And ever since then, since the end of February in 2017, I've had just, again, the distinct privilege of being a part of this congregation. And, when my wife moved here, we got married in Wales and we flew here. I had only known John for 4 months. He picked us up at the airport in Fort Myers at 3:00 in the morning. For somebody he had known for 3 months. I had never experienced that kind of love and care before. I've never known a pastor that would do that for someone before. Not a single one. And, my wife and I, began to really plug in here. One of the big prayers that we had was, well, we really need friends. And over the years, we've established really deep relationships with the people that are here. Very lifelong type relationships. And, when we had our son during COVID, meals just appeared at our door. We were getting texts, hey, how's everything going? Like, how are things? And not for a moment did we feel even disconnected when we couldn't be here in person, even with the biggest life event since our marriage. And now, everyone to Will is auntie and uncle and family. And that's the real word. I know that everyone throws it around a lot, but I lost all of my family. They're all in Cleveland. My family splintered. This is my family now. I lost all that, and I never thought that I'd feel that again. And I never thought that I'd feel that kind of love again until I walked in this door on February 4th, 2017. When COVID hit, work moved to virtual, and we were given the option to move anywhere else in the country. And, I approached my wife. I said, we could move up north. We could experience seasons again. We don't like Florida as a place. We're never going to be Floridians. I'm from Ohio. It's just never going to happen. But she said, why would we leave? Our family's here. Everything we know, everyone we love is here. And that's why you should continue to support our church. Because it's not just me that feels this way. It's not. It's my wife. It's Hugo. It's Ashley. It's Wyatt. It's John. It's Lisa. It's Vicky. It's everyone here. This is our family. And whether our church was here or not, in building, in worship, whatever it was, we would all still find a way to be together. Because that's what the body is. And that's what we would do. So thank you all so much for your continued gifts for us, for your continued support of our family, this section of the body of Christ. Truly, I can't thank you enough. My family can't thank you enough. And our family can't thank you enough.